had one of the most high-pressure dates of my life in Alpharetta last weekend, and it has everything to do with the fact that I was basically on a big group date with a bunch of P1s. So if you haven't heard before, I organized some of these like girl group meetups around Atlanta. I started this when I first moved here a couple of years ago. I was like, I have this really cool platform where like I moved to Atlanta and I started talking about like needing a girl group and wanting to hang out with people. And I felt like such a privileged position to be like, well, if I can just like come on the radio and be like, who wants to hang out with me? And, girls would flood in my DMs. I'm like, how cool would it be if I could just centralize all of that into one Facebook group? So I've been running this Facebook group where we've done a couple of meetups over the past couple of years, and it's been a lot of fun. So on Friday of our first day of vacation, so this is like a week and a half ago, I organized this happy hour in Alpharetta. I love going out there when I can. It's a little bit of a drive for me because I'm up in Buckhead, but every time I go down to Alpharetta, I'm like surprised that it's such like a fun happening part of town. Like there's people out, there's young people out. It's not just like suburban families, which is like my first, right? Like when I think of Alpharetta, I think of like the suburbs and it's very like sleepy and slow, but that's not it at all. Man. So I organized this happy hour at a place called Mercantile Social, which is a really, really good time. They were having like a pop-up for the Wizard of Oz, very cool spot. And there was this woman that showed up who was ready to get down. Like she showed up with a beer in hand. She was ready to party. It's like 5:30 and she's like, where are we going next? Like what bars are we going to bop to? And we moved from Mercantile Social to another place and we're sitting there, we're having this conversation. It's me and it's probably 10 other listeners, and we're all hanging out, having a good time, enjoying a bev on this Friday night. And she says to me, she goes, Abby, I have this neighbor that I've been thinking about setting you up with, but I know you joke about how you really only date brunettes, and I didn't really want to be that weird girl to like show up and be like, hey, I've got a date for you. And I'm like, yeah, like I just because I say I like brunettes doesn't mean that I will only date brunettes, or just because I say I like tall guys doesn't mean I'm not open to dating other people. Like I think sometimes people hear the satire when we come on the radio and they like take it for like they take it a little bit too literally. So it's like, tell me about this guy. Like, what's good about him? How do you know him? And she's basically like, he's my neighbor. He's a really good dude. Like, my daughter had a birthday and he brought her like a cake or something. Like, just painted this guy as like a really cool, altruistic guy, very successful, has a good job. He's tall, but she goes, he's blonde. So I don't know how you feel about that. And I'm like, well, let me see a photo. Let me like see if I'm even like remotely interested and see if there's some attraction here.
Blonde, you can work around. Short, you cannot.
Yeah, no. It's all about there. So anyway, she pulls out a photo and it's like a selfie of them together. And I'm like, you've been sitting on this gold mine and you thought just because he was blonde, I wouldn't go out with him? And I was like, no, he's super cute. You should totally set us up. And she goes, well, he's literally down the street if you want to just go meet him. And I'm like, oh, like right now, like you're setting us up right now. And she's like, yeah, we'll go down to this restaurant. He says he's sitting there. We've been texting. He knew that we might meet up. So let's just go say hi. And so I'm looking around. It's me and like 10 other listeners who are, a little tipsy at this point. They're like, let's go meet him. And I'm like, a little bit nervous because he's a hot guy and I'm I don't know if he's going to want to date me. Like I'm interested, but is he going to be interested? And I'm just,
well, he's not just dating you, he's dating you and 10 other listeners.
I feel like I'm on this like very backwards version of The Bachelor. So we roll down the street, we go to this restaurant. It's very like moody setting. It's this long like restaurant bar with like cocktail tables and a very rowdy bar. People are getting like fancy, expensive cocktails like cost probably like $25. And I'm like, oh my God, I thought I was just hanging out with the girls tonight. So we post up at these cocktail tables. Again, it's me and probably 10 other girls. And it's very like middle school. Everyone's like kind of got these hushed tones and they're all like very jittery. Like, where is he? Is he coming? And they're like giving me the side eye. And some of them are like trying to give me some space. Some of them are like up at the table because they want a front row seat to what's going to go down. And then the woman that was setting us up pulls him over. And all of a sudden it was just like, ding, hi. And there he is. And immediately it was like instant connection. He comes over to me and we start flirting and we're bantering, we're going back and forth and we're having like, this fun flirtatious interaction. And I'm like, oh my God, like when I say I want people to set me up, like this is the kind of guy I want them to set me up with. Finally, someone sets me up with a guy that doesn't look like he snuck onto the earth. Like this is so great. And so we're hanging out, we're having a good time. But then I started to realize there's a downside of going out with 10 other people who know that this is a first date, a first interaction. And that it's very much, like I said, like a middle school dance. And so I'm standing there next to this guy who I'm kind of flirting with and kind of on a date with, I guess. And we're shoulder to shoulder. We're at this cocktail table. And then all of a sudden I see Rebecca and one of the girls that had come to the happy hour, and they just horizontally pull out their camera and just start snapping photos of us. And I immediately give them the death glare. I'm like, put the phone down! I'm like, stop, like, you're blowing my cover. And I'm thinking like they're gonna put the phone down and be like, oh yeah, we got the photo, we're fine. And they just keep the phone. I'm like, are you guys recording? What is going on? And so then I get nervous, and so then I start sweating. I'm like, can you smell me sweat? And I get all self-conscious, and I'm like, I feel like I'm blowing this, because now I feel like this zoo animal. Everyone's like looking at me, and they're wondering if this date is gonna go well.
Yeah, they're trying to give like a side eye, but it's so obvious to you that they're looking at you.
He probably has no idea, but I'm like even more so self-conscious at this point. So the rest of the date continues, date quote unquote, and it's fine. And I'm like, this guy is not gonna ever want to see me again, because he's gonna be like, this is just too much. Like I didn't ask for all this attention. This is some random girl that I thought I was gonna get one cocktail with, and we call it a day. We got the digits.
Did you?
Uh-huh. He didn't call, but we got the digits.
It's still soon, right? It's still early.
No, it's not. He's not calling.
It's a wrap?
It's a wrap on that. But you know what? It's a lesson to all. Maybe don't go on a group date next time you're getting set up with a hot 6'2" man who's a homeowner.
At least for the first date.
I was going to ask which drunkie thought it was a good idea to take photos, but Rebecca doesn't drink. So in what world did it make sense to get out and start filming you two?
Good question, Kristen.
Yeah.
These are questions we still don't have answers to.
I've got a bigger question here. So you guys exchange phone numbers, right?
He asked for my number.
Okay, and then he doesn't call you, which I think we've talked about before. What would you rather a dude do at the end of a day like that? Would you rather him just say like, hey, have a great, I don't know, get some kind of out that indicates that there's not going to be another date? Or do you want the polite, hey, let me get your number, and then he doesn't use it?
Well, I think what was so weird is that it wasn't a polite, like, pity, let me get your number. We were hanging out, and he, like, left his group of people to come down at the end of the night and was like, hey, like, give me your phone. And I'm like, what do you want my phone for? And he's like, well, I'm going to put my number in it. It wasn't like a weird pity, like, oh, well, yeah, let me get your number. Maybe I'll call. So, anyway.
So it wasn't possible that he did that because of the group of people, and he didn't want it to look awkward in front of everybody?
No, like I don't want to say he chased me down, but he went out of his way to then come get my number. So the search continues for Mr. Right.
So here's where I get so confused. He actually chased you down. So he had an exit strategy. If you had no plan on seeing you again, he definitely had an exit strategy, but he pursues you, gets the number, then doesn't use it.
That's what I thought was so weird. Like, he made a point to get my number. It wasn't like, hey, I'm going to head out, but like, let me get your number. And then, maybe I'll call, maybe I won't. I looked him in the eyes and I was like, be sure to give me a call. And then we parted ways.
But again, to reiterate, this was a listener's friend and she was trying to hook you up. Could she have been like, yo, get her number? Or like she wants to stay in your good graces and that's why he came and got the digits?
Maybe it's a possibility, but then like, I'm almost more insulted. Like at least I would have been like, oh, okay, there wasn't a connection here. We're going to go our separate ways. Bye-bye. But now I'm just a little insulted. Now I'm like, what did you find out about me on the internet between that night and now? That makes you not want to call. Because I was like, dang, we did the sugar daddy bit on Friday. He probably looked it up and was like, this girl was sleuthing herself around town. Well, now it's been like over a week.
Oh yeah. You're out of
Sorry.
that. Well, even if he listened to the sugar daddy bit, he would have heard us say that until Mr. Right comes along. Then this is a placeholder. But even that, I guess, could be off. Who knows, though?
Yeah, sometimes guys don't want to give you the benefit of the doubt.
That just seems like the only thing I could think of is that he got your number and then he went and did the research, and that's something that he found in it. Because nothing other than that would make any sense to me.
Yeah, or he's just a wussy.
That could be
Because I
true,
looked
too.
at him and I said, don't text me. I said, you call me like an adult.
And that's when he's like, nope, too high. Too high
I think that was a key point to put in there.
When you knew that there was not going to be a second date, that you were on this date and it's not going to be a second date, did you get the numbers out of just to be courteous?
If I'm on the first date and I don't already have her number and I know I don't want to see her again?
Yeah.
No, I would probably try to end it nicely. But if she kept pushing and I knew that there was no way to get out of it without just getting the number, I probably would do it.
Yeah, so I don't know what I did wrong, but apparently this is kind of an epidemic because I told my group chat and they're like, yeah, I've been out before and guys are like so schmoozy and they're going to ask my number and then they never call. So I don't know what the epidemic is, but I think people need to start dialing the phone, like I said, like an adult.
Oh, don't you sweat it. We got a sugar daddy right around the corner for you.
Always.
The Bert Show.